ever wondered if your dog is stressed? The signs can be quite subtle and difficult to pick up on. Left unchecked, it can develop into a pretty nasty behavior problem. Today I'm going to show you some really basic stress signals that every dog owner should know. But here's the important thing. Don't overanalyze any unusual behavior that your dog does as a signal of stress. I will be doing another video on the pitfalls of overanalyzing supposed stress signals in your dogs, so stay tuned for that. Being a non-verbal species, dogs are going to use their bodies to communicate with us primarily, and this is definitely the world's worst dog. Thank goodness I'm into animals and not art, because otherwise I'd be penniless on the streets. But we're going to look at the different parts of the dog's body that can give us really good stress signals. The dog's mouth, eyes, ears. The torso is going to be quite useful as well. The legs, and surprisingly, the paws. First up is whale eye, and this is when you can see the whites of your dog's eyes. It's usually when the dog is looking at something sideways but keeping their head facing straight, and it's a pretty nifty way of not doubling up on full face contact and eye contact at the same time. Whale eye can be really subtle and it can be hard to notice sometimes, but it's a really good co-signal when you consider some of the other stress signals. Whale eye means that the dog is uncomfortable, and you'll normally see it just before the dog is going to move away or escalate to a warning. Lip licking. Obviously, dogs lick their lips naturally, but when it's out of context, so in other words, they are licking their lips, but there's no food around or anything that would cause a normal physiological response of lip licking, it is a stress signal. Lip licking is an early warning sign. The dog will often do it to try and calm themselves down or to appease the item of their discomfort. Yawning. Obviously, dogs yawn, especially when they're tired or they need a boost of oxygen, but watch the context of the yawn. If it's inappropriate, it's more than likely a stress signal. Pay attention to when they yawn and what the situation is around the yawn. Commissure, fancy word for the junction where the dog's top lips meet the bottom lips. In a relaxed dog, it's nice and open. There's no tension being held there. If a dog becomes stressed, you might find that commissure goes backwards in a tight, almost sort of like a grimace shape. And if the dog is now going to be more forward with his discomfort and show that he's prepared to take some action, you will see the commissure move forward. It'll look almost like a pucker, but it normally means that the dog is going to be initiating some kind of aggressive or defensive response. Pay attention to the dog's commissure. What we're looking for there is a nice, relaxed commissure. The shape of the commissure will often tie in with the pro tip that I'm going to share with you a little bit later on, and you'll see there how those two signals often go hand in hand. Ears are a great indicator. It doesn't matter whether the dog's got erect ears or flop ears. The ear itself is actually quite mobile. When dogs kind of take those ears sideways, they literally pin them to the sides of their heads. They're not happy campers. There's something going on that they are not comfortable with. If you see those pinned ears along with whale eye or lip licking, it's pretty obvious that the dog is feeling very uncomfortable with the current situation. Shake off. When you see your dog shaking, when there's actually no reason to be shaking, it's probably a stress signal. This is a stress signal that is particularly prone to being overanalyzed. Remember that when a dog has been lying on the ground or they've been brushed or there's been some kind of stimulus along their back, it's a physiological response to shake. So while this can be a valuable stress signal, it's the stress signal that is often overanalyzed and interpreted as stress when it was actually just a physiological response. Hyperactivity does not always equate with happiness. Just as some people talk a lot when they get stressed and other people clam up, dogs are similar like that in terms of activity in different situations. Some dogs, when they're stressed, will become completely hyperactive. Can you say golden retriever? And other dogs will become hypoactive and they'll literally shut down. In the same category, we'll see paw lifts. This is very common, especially in smaller breeds of dogs. And what we'll see there is the dog lifts one paw and keeps it motionless while they're trying to analyze whatever it is that might be causing them to feel a little bit stressed. Obviously, we do not want to overanalyze stress signals. The next video is going to be on the dangers of doing this and how to make sure that you don't fall into that trap. Carrying on from the hyperactivity, we will often see dogs that pace when they get stressed. Pacing is typically associated with relatively high levels of anxiety. The dog has got all this nervous energy, and pacing it helps them to deal with the situation. This one's a little bit easier to recognize because it seems to be performing no obvious purpose. In those situations, we want to try and see what it is that's causing the dog to be stressed or to be anxious, and see what we can do to make the situation better for the dog. And here's a bonus signal that a lot of dog owners miss, but professionals are always looking for this. And this is what I call the pause. If a dog is panting normally, it's a nice steady rhythm, there's no weird stuff going on, and suddenly they close their mouth, which is often associated with a sort of a more upright posture, something is going to happen. The dog has seen or heard or smelled something that they're not entirely sure how to deal with it, and they go into that pause while they are doing their risk analysis. They are deciding, is that thing safe? Is it not safe? How do I respond? If the dog's decided that whatever caught their attention is not worthy of further discussion, so to speak, they will just resume their panting as normal. If their mouth stays closed, something's going to happen. This is your opportunity now to intervene if necessary, and to make sure that the situation doesn't end badly. That pause will often come right before the dog initiates some kind of response to whatever caused them to pause. So be alert for it, look out for it, and then you can also just scan the environment quickly to make sure that whatever it is that has given them pause, pardon the pun, is not something that's going to cause a problem. In some cases, if a dog has a high respiration rate and they do the pause, you will also see what we call lip blowing. The respiration rate is still elevated, but the dog's mouth is closed, so you'll see the lips going in and out slightly. And again, sometimes you'll observe lip blowing in a dog that's not stressed at all. We need to look at the entire context. There's one more stress signal that professionals lie on, and this is the shape of the dog's tongue. A dog that is stressed will have what is called a spatulate tongue, which, exactly as the name implies, the front of the tongue has broadened out a little bit, and it's more curled than it would normally be if the dog was just doing normal panting related to the weather. That being said, a dog that is very, very hot will also have the spatulate tongue, but you could argue that that dog is also stressed from more of a physiological perspective than a mental or emotional perspective. If you see a spatulate tongue, you are definitely dealing with a stressy dog. It might be environmental or it might be situational. The best thing you can do for your dog if they are stressed is to either remove them from the situation or remove the stressor from the situation. I'll go into a lot more detail on how to deal with stress in your dog in a later video. Now that you know some basic stress signals, keep a lookout for them on your dog, but remember, don't fall into the trap of overanalyzing stress signals. Sometimes a yawn is just a yawn. In an upcoming video, I'm going to look at some of these stress signals in context and out of context, and we'll see how easy it is to misinterpret these stress signals and actually cause more stress for your dog. And then we're also going to take a look at the value of stress. A little bit of stress in your dog's life can be immensely beneficial, so be sure to check that out.